If you've ever walked into a sales meeting thinking it was mainly about price and scope, and I got to get this job, today's conversation might change the way you see your company. In commercial cleaning, sales and negotiations are often treated like transactions. But what if they're actually transformational moments? What if every proposal presentation, every contract renewal, every negotiation with a property manager or facility leader is an opportunity not just to win work, but to create clarity, confidence, and connection? If this all sounds like a nice dream, well, let's see what we can do to turn this into reality. And to do this, I'm pleased to welcome regular guest Larry Levine, author of Selling from the Heart. Larry, Mr. Podcast that you are, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic yourself. You know what? Every time, Jeff, we get together, we get into a very good conversation. Today's going to be no different.
It is. And as mentioned at the outset, this landing work, landing jobs, landing clients, sometimes it just gets pigeonholed into the same routine. So today we're going to dig into how to make it different, if I
Yeah,
understand you.
here's what I'd ask everyone to think about. Why does it always have to be that way?
Hmm.
Because, in the intro, you use the word transaction. And at least in how my wacky brain works, is the reason why you get treated like a transaction and use the word transactions because you carry yourself like one. You're walking into these conversations and you're acting like a salesperson. Hey, this is get sell on the table. They already know you're there to sell them something, right? Something tells me they already know this. But what I want us to think about is how are you showing up? What kind of an experience are you creating? Not only during that meeting, before the meeting, after the meeting, on an ongoing basis. And something tells me if you just shift your mind into saying, you know what? I'm here to transform the relationship. I'm here to transform their business. You show up in a completely different manner, Jeff.
Agree. They know why you're there. We know when a salesperson knocks on the door, the difference between someone there for a different reason. So I like that. That's good, Larry. But what do you do with that? You mentioned transforming and changing things, but as a person involved in sales, what would that's use of the same routine over and over? How do you make that happen? What's inside the mind to do that? So you're not talking about price per square foot. Walk me through your building. What's the scope of work? Instead, to make it more meaningful. What do you think?
Great question. I'd say this, and I'd encourage us to think together for a moment on this. And this is removing being in the moment and transactional. And what Jeff's saying, I agree with. There's a place and a time for all of that. It's just I want us to think. You're a sales professional. Maybe you're a sales leader watching this. And you have a meeting coming up with a property manager, an operations manager, maybe a president of a small company that you might be working with. Help them cast vision, bring some insight, get them to forward think about their business. And you could open it up by saying something like this. Out in my drive over here to see you, by the way, thank you for hanging out with me. Today we're gonna have a great conversation. But in my drive over here, I was listening to the Facilities Managers podcast, totally making it up, right? But you'll get the point. I was listening to the Facilities Managers podcast. And as I was listening to it, they talked about a certain percentage of business owners today are looking at new ways to grow their business through dot, dot, dot. Hey, I'm just curious, Jeff, how do you see this panning out in your business? That's showing up, and I gave you the kind of the wireframe framework on this, but that's showing up in a completely different fashion. So, what experience do you want to create for somebody in that meeting. This is why I believe inspirational experiences and how you inspire and how you influence and how you get somebody to think different about their business is so mission critical today.
So that's all great information. Some watching our program, Larry, will be like, well, what I see when I go to visit these potential clients, they're like, yeah, you have the RFP. What will you charge me? What's this going to look like? They're like, business. Get down to business. Yours, you're saying to take that away to make it into a discussion, a conversation. But how do you crack that nut when the client isn't used to it and they don't really know the behind the scenes of anything that we're talking about? They want to know the price, they want you to clean, they don't want to worry about the contract.
I would say this. My thoughts on this is you got to be willing to pump the brakes on this. You have to be willing to pump the brakes. And it's around one word, clarity. You're walking into this meeting and right away they're saying, how much is it going to cost for you to clean, right? And we're just going to keep this simple. Most sellers are probably going to go right into, well, this is how much we charge based on this and so forth. What would it be like if we just tapped the brakes? Help me understand. Help me understand the scope around here. What would you like to accomplish? What's working? What's not working? I think for me, if I'm a seller and I'm watching this or I'm listening to this, and you can buy into the way I show up as mission critical, don't fall into the trap of how much is it going to cost to insert clean my office or right? It's not about that. Anybody can quote a price, but why are they asking you? What's the why and the what behind all of this? That's what I'm urging people to think about because I really believe right away when you're asked this, 9 times out of 10, most people just start justifying price and they go into selling and they oversell and they oversell. Well, guess what? There's a logical reason why somebody's asking you that. It's up to us as professional sellers to create a business moment around this. What are you trying to accomplish? What's working? What might not be working? What would you like to be done a little bit different? 3 months from now, we come up with the right solution. What's that look like for you? What's the last 90 days look like? We can't rush into these conversations and create this experience because we're creating experiences like everybody else. You're going to get treated just like everybody else.
Yeah, I think, Larry, that potential clients, they've the facility manager you're talking to has done this a long time. It's been the same process. So that was my question is because they're used to a certain cadence of conversation. Walk the building, look at what needs to be done, talk about the price, the square foot, the scope, and all that. But I like your talking about last 90 days and the next 3 months and all that because you're asking about goals. And pain points fit into this as well because I think asking a client, what are some pain points you've had with your previous cleaning companies? You're trying to solve an issue. I don't like to say the word problem, challenge. So,
Yeah, and Jeff, it may not even, it may, and everyone who's listening or watching this, it may not actually be a pain point. It may not actually be a challenge. What would they like to see done differently? And this is where, and you said some really good stuff here. Like before we walk your building, before we walk your office, let's just take a few moments. I just have a couple questions I'd like to ask. When it comes to these types of services, what are you hoping to accomplish? What are your goals? What are your initiatives? What's a clean office look like? Walk me through that. Describe it. Help me understand. Hey, by the way, we're going to get to walking your building and we're going to do all the things that right, everybody else is doing. But before we get to that point, I just have some questions I'd like to ask, and I think it may help unpack and give you peace of mind. Are we the right person to help you accomplish some of these things?
Yeah, I imagine that you'll occasionally have the curmudgeonly facilities manager who doesn't really want to talk. Just give me the price. I don't know what that percentage would be, but what you're sharing today works great with those that will have that conversation with you. But how do you crack that conversation open with some that they're looking at their watch? They got things to do. They expected you to come in, give them a bid. Well, you're one of three. They have two more coming in this afternoon. What can you say to make them pause and go, you know what? I need to give this guy more time of day than I was thinking.
Make these people look really, really good. For one, they're perception oriented people. These types of people, these facilities managers, these curmudgeons, right? And they're out there. They have people that report to them. They also report to somebody. They're sandwiched right in the middle of this company. These people are 100% perception oriented and they're risk adverse. We as sellers, we as professional service sellers have to acknowledge this. Are you going to win them all? No, of course not. However, acknowledge, right? Acknowledge these people are perception oriented. Make these people look really, really good. Help them mitigate all the risk. Inspire them to think completely different. Acknowledge it. Hey, I know, right? I know, Jeff. You're probably going to try. You're going to beat me up over price. This is the human part of this. I know you're going to beat me up over price, just like you do with the other 10 or 11 vendors. But I'm here to tell you this. My commitment to you is to help remove all the obstacles you may have about people like us. Because when this is all said and done, if you feel like I'm the right vendor, I'm going to make you look really, really good. Because you got people counting on you to make the right decision. And all I'm here to do is to inspire you to think a little bit differently about people like us. Is that fair?
Okay, where do I sign? Oh, wait, I'm not the facility manager.
Yeah, thanks for pointing it out. But here's what I want us to think about. When you act like everybody else, you
Hmm.
get treated like everybody else. The reason why, and again, this is my belief on this. I think the reason why these people are curmudgeons or they're difficult or they go right to price is they go, you know what? I bet you. I bet you this conversation is going to go down just like the other 15 and 20 I've had in the last couple months. I'm going to treat this person just like everybody else. But what happens if, with confidence and with believability and with a little inspiration, inspire people to see and achieve things they don't think they can do on their own? Breathe life into these people. Maybe even get them to crack a smile.
Your comment earlier, Larry, about the ones who report to the facility manager and the ones he reports to, I think that's the secret to me because he's got a tough job to do. He's the middleman. And if the building is cared for, if everything is good and he's confident in the cleaning company, that's a big help. That's
Oh my
that's a big
gosh,
deal.
this is huge. And we gotta peel this thing back because that facilities manager, right, of this building or a custodial manager, they got cleaning people that report to that person. The last thing you want to do is have a team of unhappy custodians because you made a bad decision. I totally get it. I respected everybody. That's why us as professional sellers are going to acknowledge that you're going to make this person look really, really good. They're risk adverse. Why should they jump over the fence to your company and run the risk of making all the other people below them unhappy because they made this decision? Low price is not always the best price. When you sell on price, you die on price. But when you can show up as a professional, look that person in the eye with confidence, inspire them to think a little bit different, make them look really, really good. Hey, I may or may not be the right person for this job. The only way we're going to find out is if you're open minded to me asking you some questions to determine if there's even a reason why we get to a next step. And at that next step, it might be the price. But there's a whole lot of difference between somebody's price, my price, and somebody else's price. Would you all agree? They're probably going to say yes. Again, I'm going to make you look really, really good. But I know the person that you report to is probably going to want you to do due diligence as you just set price aside for a moment.
I like that. The lowest price is often not the best.
Let's get back to this cleanliness of an office or
Mhm.
cleanliness of a building. That's perception of people walking into your building. Why do y'all want to cut corners and go with a low price leader when you're having possibly your clients walking into this building going, I'm telling you, I'm going to give you a classic. Can I give an example really quick? I'm not going to use the place where we have our meetings, but I live in Thousand Oaks, California, and I'm a massive supporter of my community. I'm heavily involved in my Kiwanis groups. Like Kiwanis is like Rotary, it's a community-based service organization. We meet at a local golf course. I question how much money they're spending to have that place cleaned, and the attention to detail is missing whoever's cleaning that place. Point being, it's probably a low price leader. There's all kinds of other things that you all bring that are listening and watching this. There's all kinds of other things that you bring to the table besides price. But when someone's pigeonhole into price, you got to be able to pump the brakes, take a step back, get them to think different, have them reflect upon their building or their office and having people walk in and what's the perception of them when they walk into these places. What if their best client walked in? Just saying. Something to think about.
No, good thoughts. I'm shocked when I go into places that have a professional cleaning service or a cleaning staff, and you find gunk in the corner of a bathroom or any issue with cleaning, dirty carpet spots. You got to wonder why.
Yep.
It's
And all I would ask people to think about is inspire them, help them cast vision, get them to think different, inspire them to see and achieve things about their building, about their office they didn't know was possible. It's not always about price. It's the experience that you all are going to bring. And by the way, they're paying attention to this in the very first meeting because if you show up and inspire them to think completely different and they haven't even signed on the dotted line yet, you've completely changed the paradigm of the whole conversation.
you're top of mind.
Yes.
Mhm. All right, Larry, good stuff. Any words to close with today?
I would just say this, and by the way, the journey that we've been on, thank you. As we're talking about building authentic relationships, we're talking about building meaningful value and bringing that to your clients. Well, today we just want you to just think, can I inspire them to see and achieve things they don't believe they can do on their own? Can I help them cast vision beyond just what's the price? Can I get them to think about the cleanliness of their office or their building in a completely different fashion? Because not only is it my perception, it's their customers' perception when they walk into their buildings or their office or their restaurant.
Agreed, agreed. Well, we'll see if this makes a difference in the world of negotiations and inspiration.
I believe it does.